So I thought I would do a little video here, and this is really just recruiting 101. I'm going to go through some stuff that's specific to each grade, but it's also going to have some of my philosophies and thoughts on the entire process. This is not the end all or be all of these things. I'm really hoping that individual players will contact me because a lot of advice in recruiting is very specific to the player, to the position, to their interests, and where they are in terms of the year. So, but it's a good guideline. So some of you don't know. I know the freshmen obviously don't know me. Sophomores are just getting to know me. But the first part, why am I the one helping with this stuff? I am not a football coach. I don't pretend to be a football coach. And I'm not the one to ask for advice on how to play football. What I am is the father of two young men that both play college sports. My oldest, Carter, plays college baseball at Missouri S&T. And my youngest, Nathan, plays football at the University of Northern Iowa. And through those two processes, and then kind of working with a lot of the other kids and parents that were going through the process at my youngest son's high school at the Smet. And I don't know, then getting to know some of the other coaches in the area and the work that they were doing, I've picked up a lot in terms of how the whole system works. And I really learned as I went through the process that there were a lot of advantages given to those that just kind of know how it works, but people keep that in the network. And if you know what you're doing, especially in terms of creating film and getting it out to coaches, you can level the playing field an awful lot, so to speak. Nice little pun. So, talked about the first two there. Let me talk about the third one. I believe that a pursuit of an athletic scholarship helps whether you get one or not. The things that you will do in terms of contacting out the coaches, researching schools, making sure that your transcript looks good, making sure that you perform well on your test scores, even making sure that you are physically fit and strong and part of a team. If you never end up getting an athletic scholarship, I still think that you are a much better person for having tried. Okay? So I don't like to see people talk themselves out of it. And to be honest with you, I've seen some people with a lot of persistence, but not a lot of skill, get an opportunity. I do believe far too many kids talk themselves out of playing sports in college. I thought it so badly I wrote "of" twice there. Not exactly sure why. But I know people love to tell you the stats about how 3% of high school kids go on to play. Only a third of those are playing at the D1 level or have scholarship money. Yes, the odds are slim. But there are a lot more opportunities than that D1 level. And it's worth your time a lot of times to play at other levels too, because you get to go into college and be a part of a team. You have an instant group of guys that you connect with, that you have friends with. You have adults looking out after you. You have adults that care about you succeeding. You have advisors that help you get good grades so that you can play. That happens at every level. All right. So there are a lot of advantages to pursuing it. There are a lot of advantages to being on a team, even if it is at a lower level. And the last thing, the game of recruiting is ever changing and it has many unwritten rules. And I'm really trying to actively learn the process, really at the same time that the coaches are writing the process for how we're handling this stuff through this COVID deal. Because some schools have visits, some schools don't have visits. The dead period has been extended over and over again. So it's a bit of a mess. That's why I'm doing this. video and sending out these posts because I want people to like focus on the now. What can you control? What can you be doing, right? Because if we sit around and wait, somebody else isn't, and they're going to get there before we do. First thing, you're going to hear me mention academics a lot, okay? But here's why the academics are so important. You'll see people post or people complain, or you'll see some guy say, I was supposed to go D1 because my test scores weren't good enough. I could have gone D1, but my test scores weren't good enough. Here's the deal. If you get the grades, that test score isn't going to really matter. If you really get the grades, the test score isn't going to matter. You can attend a D1 school, be academically eligible if you have a 3.5 GPA in high school and only get a 39 composite, a cumulative on the ACT, which means when you hear people talking about their scores, 0 through 36, that would be a 10. A 10, folks, okay? Most people can get a 10, but not most people can get a 3.5. I understand that, or at least most people don't. But I do believe really strongly that people can get a lot better grades than they do because we settle for C's. We settle for, hey, it's a B, I'll focus on a different class. Get those A's. It's so much easier. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later. At the D2, the numbers are actually pretty similar, okay? So with a 3.0 GPA, you still have to have an 11.5. But look what happens when you're that guy that has a 2.5. You can't play D1 unless you have at least a 17. Actually, generally, a lot of times it comes out at 18, okay? I'm going to scare you off here. The way that thing works. NAIA, people have been talking for a long time like that's the easier of them, but you still have to have that 18 on the ACT. If you don't have it, guess what you need? Yeah, I already covered it. Grades. You got to have 2.0, but you also have to be in the top half of your class. And I'm here to tell you, Carnahan High School of the Future 2.0 does not put you in the top half of your class, okay? 2.8, getting near that 3. What I really want people to have is 3s. We could almost all qualify if we have a 3. Swear to God. All right, I'm gonna bring up Twitter later on, and I posted some stuff on how to set up your Twitter page, but I get exhausted by trying to talk to kids about getting recruited in sports and telling them over and over to set up a Twitter page, and then finding out 6 months later they still haven't made one, or that they made one and they never touched it again. Guys, it's weird. All right, but I'm not lying to you. College recruiting happens on Twitter. That's where it happens, okay? And coaches can follow you long before they can message you. So there's a value to creating a page and following a bunch of coaches and getting them to follow you back, even if they're not sending you messages, even if they're not talking to you. It's good, okay? And then the next thing is, and we'll talk about this a little later, then you post. You post your film. You post rah-rah stuff about how hard you're working. You post stuff from other college coaches. You retweet things from other college players so that you're demonstrating over and over and over again that you live, breathe, and eat football. And if you live, breathe, and eat anything else, don't post about it. Because coaches can see everything that you like. Coaches that follow you, they can see every comment that you make. And they know how to access it because recruiting happens on Twitter and coaches know how it all works. So you can't even get onto Twitter and then like your friend's tweet about how he got high last weekend. It makes you look bad. Don't do it. Okay, it's your resume. All right, freshman year. And you're thinking, I'm a freshman and I haven't played football. I understand, but there are important things that you can be doing. The first one is you gotta get good grades. We've been talking about this. And the thing is that your freshman year, quite honestly, it might not feel like it right now, but it's the easiest time to get good grades. It really is. So, because mostly what you have to do is just do everything. If you do everything, you'll get good grades. If you skip assignments, if you miss assignments, if you miss readings, then you won't get good grades. It's that simple. But the thing is that when coaches start to sniff around sophomore year, they're first going to ask about their grades. If you're a guy that pops up with a 3.0 or above, they're never going to worry about it again. If you're a guy that pops up with a 1.8, they're never going to talk to you again. If you pop up with a 2.5, they're going to wait and see how awesome you are. That's the way it works. If the grades are good and they know they don't have to worry about it, they kick it into another gear. Pick your 5 dream schools. Really, seriously, aim for the stores. Find out what it is where you would really want to go, what kinds of places really appeal to you, and then I want you to go look at the players that play that position. Not necessarily the guy that just graduated because he had 4 years of weight training and everything there, but who did they just recruit? Can you get where he was? How do you do it? Because the second part is you're going to create a plan, or the third part, I guess, on here. It makes me crazy that people will play their freshman year, go their sophomore year, have a little bit of success their junior year, and then kind of think about maybe I'm going to start working on this, getting good at this thing. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. People that make it to D1 sports hit the weight room their freshman year, their sophomore year, their junior year, all the way through, not just when it's required. They're getting big all of the time. Coaches more and more expect players to be game ready when they get there. They don't want to spend 2 years sending you to a weight room on the scholarship. They want to know that if they have to, they can put you in. And they can't do that if you weigh 165 pounds. Okay. Also, work on creating a plan for improving your test taking, and how are you going to work on your skills? A lot of our assistant coaches do stuff on the side. They'll help you. They'll connect you with a buddy that can help you if it's in a season that they can't connect. Guys, get together. Get a ladder. Throw around the wall. I would love to someday show up at that school on a Saturday and just see 5 guys in the park across the street tossing the ball around. That's the kind of stuff that happens at programs that produce players that get recruited to college. Last thing, I've already said it again, create a Twitter account. Freshman year, you should already have it. I posted a picture about what that should look like, all the information that you should have on it. You don't have all that information yet, but don't make up stuff in between, okay? Your real name, don't change your Twitter handle 25 times because you're going to be putting it into questionnaires and on forms, and people are going to be writing it down, and it's going to be on your huddle film. And then if you change it, it's like changing your phone number. Nobody ever find you again. Start just simply by going through and following a bunch of coaches. Follow a bunch of college players. Make it all about college football. Your Twitter page should be a testament to college football. All right, sophomore year, get good grades. I've already talked about that a lot. I wanted to put it up on the sheet, all right? Research area school. Here's the thing that I always have a hard time with. Guys start talking about, well, I want to go to Texas A&M. Okay, everyone wants to go to Texas A&M, right? But guess what? The coaches from Texas A&M aren't getting in their car and hanging out in St. Louis every weekend, right? But the guys from Quincy are, right? Guys from Mobap are, guys from Lindenwood are, some people from SIUC might be around, okay? You got to start regional. If you can't get an offer within 4 hours of your home, you can't get an offer outside of those 4 hours. You're going to put work into schools whether you are actually interested in going there or not, because offers get offers and interest gets interest, okay? So you want to get as many coaches contacting you, following you, communicating with you, recruiting you as possible, because the more of them that pile up, the more people pay attention. Self-evaluate. Are you consistently working on your body? Are you working on your test taking skills? Every time you take a STAR test, are you doing your best? Or are you blowing it off and decide that you'll take it serious when the first serious test comes around? We play like we practice, and you gotta practice hard. Do the testing practice. Do the ACT classes. Okay. And use field level. All right. Coaches purchase this. We have this account. You've got a basic level. People start to get recruited. He'll upgrade that. This is a great place for people to connect. Field level is how my oldest son ended up getting a scholarship to play. So it feels a little silly, and it's not anywhere where it's going to finish, but it's a great place to start. It's also a great place to put yourself in, because it'll help you guide your focus on where you might fit in. All right. Junior year, right? Get good grades. I mean, to be honest with you, you just got to continue to get good grades. If you already have bad ones, boy, you better fix it, and you better fix it now. Because by the time you're in your spring of your junior year, those coaches aren't ever going to see those grades. They're not going to see them. You can't fix your grades your senior year. All the recruiting's over by the time that GPA is fixed. So you better get on it now. Fill out questionnaires. Go to school websites, go to their athletic department, or Google the name of the school and type in recruiting questionnaire. The word is right there, and fill these things out. This is how you'll find out about camps. It's how you're good on mailings. They'll start to follow you on Twitter. Some grad assistant will watch your film. Who knows? But it's a great place to start, okay? And it's also a great way to make sure that when you do go to the camp, they've got you highlighted in bold, marked on their list so that they know to pay attention to you. Take the ACT, take it as often as you can. Take your ACT prep classes seriously. Don't say, I'm going to wait and take it later and later and later when I'm better. Take it now, and then if you do poorly, take it again. Okay. Use Twitter. Now you should be DMing coaches directly. I think that timeline has changed a little bit right now during COVID. I can't quote myself, but I'm not sure if they can directly message you right now or not as a junior at the D1 level. But you can post your film and you can tag coaches. When we get started on here and you have your Twitter accounts, there are local beat guys. There's a guy named JP Rock. If you go look at some of these older guys that have Twitter accounts that you know are being recruited, look at who follows them, go follow them, because those guys will help promote you. Get to camps. At the end of your junior year, you have got to be in camps that summer. And I'm sorry to say that to the guys that are seniors now, and they're hearing it, and they were like, I was going to, and every one of them got canceled. I understand, and it's all being rewritten. But the plan has got to be to try to be at camps next summer, okay? A lot of schools are going to be doing some stuff in the winter. I know they are. And we're gonna keep our eyes open and make sure that we get our guys to those opportunities, because coaches don't really go to a bunch of high school games anymore. They watch film, and then they watch the guys that show up in front of them at these camps. And I'm not talking about the camps that cost $300 and they promise that they're going to send your name out to all these other places. Those are fine and dandy, but they're really unnecessary, okay? The ones you want to go to are hosted by schools. They can even be hosted by small schools. MOBAP does one, SLU does one, Lindenwood does a awesome camp. And those, none of those are as expensive as some of those big mega things. Seniors, know your grades. Know your grades. And this is probably true of juniors too. I don't mean, oh, you checked them and I know that I got an A last quarter or whatever. I mean, when a coach says, so how are your grades? You should be able to say, I've got a 3.3 weighted GPA, sir. And right now I've got a 3.5 this semester, so I expect it to go up. That's what you should be able to do. You should be able to talk about your grades. Even if your grades are bad, you should be able to talk about your grades. Or maybe even especially if they're bad, you should be able to talk your grades. Because the worst thing you can do is mumble and say, I don't know, I'm not really sure, I'd have to check, I'll ask somebody. And then they look it up and you got a 2.4 and they'll go, I know, now I know why he has a 2.4. He doesn't even pay attention to his grades. Know your information. It shows that you care about it. Harass teams. If you're a senior right now, you should be on Twitter every day. Every day. I swear to you, every day. All right? My son was being recruited at the D1 level, right? He plays at a D1 school. We had Texas A&M, Syracuse, Purdue, Temple, Michigan State, right? And he was still contacting at least 5 coaches a day. That takes you about 15 minutes. There's no reason not to do that if you're serious about what you're doing. Know your fit. Don't waste time chasing schools that don't want you and aren't interested. If you're a senior and you don't have a D1 offer or interest right now, you're not going D1. You're not. And don't call me a hater, okay? It's just the reality of the situation. Those guys are getting ready to sign. Some of them are going to have letters here on October 1. That ship has sailed, all right? Now, if you had some D2s, you could be working one into a D1 right now. But if you don't have anything, you got to be doing NAIA stuff. You got to be doing D2 stuff. And you should start really researching and reaching out to JUCO coaches. Apply to schools. One of the best ways to convince a coach that you're serious about wanting to go to their school is going through the trouble of applying to get there. A lot of people will tell you, hey, you don't have to apply to school. Once you get recruited, they'll put you in. That's true, but you can also flip it the other way. You can apply to schools, research schools, apply to them, and then reach out to a coach and say, hey, coach, I am interested in playing for your team, and I have been accepted at your school. Now, the only thing he has to do is say yes. He doesn't have to say yes and then go grab a bunch of paperwork. He doesn't have to say yes and then go find out what your ACT scores are or what your transcripts are. He doesn't have to go find out whether you can get in. You're in. It's easy for him. And he looks at it and he goes, linebacker? Well, I needed a linebacker. You're in, kid. It really can happen that way, especially at the D2 and NAIA levels. And then plan on visiting schools, all right? We're working on it, all right? Some schools are doing it at some levels. The D1 schools can't do the visits right now. There's a dead period. It's all very strange. Some of them are hosting virtual visits, which is great. I haven't had anybody invited to one, but if you get invited or if a coach reaches out, please, 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 please don't say, no, I don't think I could do that. I don't care what level it is. I don't care where it is. You say, I need to talk to my family and my coaches to see how I can make it happen. And you act excited about doing it because once they're inviting you for a visit, they're serious. This video is getting very long. You must contact coaches. I've said this over and over. I'm going to say it some more. Create a Twitter account. Create a Twitter account. Create a Twitter account. Fill out questionnaires for area schools. This is especially true of sophomores and juniors. You should be filling out those questionnaires. Find coaches and recruiting coordinators on Twitter and DM them. I'm going to post in the file section a list of basically every school in a 4-hour area that and a DM that's live that you can on Twitter that you can contact. Find emails on school websites. Email those coaches. The coaches don't read their emails. Their secretaries do. But if you post your film in there, they might forward it to the right guy that does the first viewing of film. So keep it short. It doesn't have to be some long letter. Nobody's going to read it. Connect to coaches on field level. Again, it's a really useful tool, especially when we get down here to the end. Okay, when coaches are looking to quickly find somebody, they found out that another kid that was going to come isn't going to come, and they're like, man, I absolutely needed to get a linebacker. If you already connected to them on field level and told them that they were a linebacker and you were ready to go, you might be next in line. check your messages. Check your email messages, check your Twitter messages, check your field level messages. Nothing makes me crazier than having a coach reach out to me and say, I thought this kid was interested. And I say, he was. And he says, well, I emailed him 3 times. Happened last year. Swear to God. All right. Last thing, NCAA clearinghouse, juniors and seniors, you should be doing this. I actually will probably host an NCAA clearinghouse meeting so that we can walk people through this, but I wanted to get it on your head and let you know that we're talking about it, okay? So maybe at some point in the next couple of weeks, we'll arrange for this to happen. Ms. Clay can do a fee waiver. It doesn't have to cost you anything. If you're applying for D2 or NAIA, which is what, if you're a senior and you haven't done your NCAA clearinghouse, you can do it now and you can do it for free and you don't need me. You can go to that website right there, https:/web3ncaa.org ECWR3, or I want to make it easy, Google NCAA clearinghouse, but make sure you're not clicking on an ad for somebody that wants to charge you a bunch of money to tell you how to fill out the NCAA clearinghouse, because it is in fact free for everything but D1 sports. Okay, that's it. chris.martins@slps.org, or just send a message in the team chat, the team thread, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.